Now in part 2, we look at some more Star Trek properties where there was an element of futurism that we can evaluate from what we know of today. I take you to an episode of The Next Generation titled The Neutral Zone, which was the season finale of the first season. The audience here was 1988. So we go to this clip.
You are on the starship USS Enterprise.
American.
No, it's a vessel in the United Federation of Planets, and Earth is a member.
What year is this?
By your calendar, 2364.
What?
About 370 years ago, you died of a massive embolism.
Let's see if the Braves are on. How do you cut on this TV?
TV.
I believe he means television, sir. That particular form of entertainment did not last much beyond the year 2040.
So two important aspects of the Star Trek timeline were evident over here. One was that this is the first time a specific year was given to any canonical event in Star Trek. In the beginning, it was very vague. It wasn't even clear whether it was 200 years or 300 years in the future, the original series. By the time of the films, they had decided that the original crew was set in the late 23rd century, but only at this point have they put forth an exact year, thereby telling us where everything resides relative to the present, and that these 24th century TV series, of which there were 3, were exactly 378 years in the future from the viewer's perspective. But the second interesting point that came up was when Commander Data informed the person who had been cryogenically frozen from the audience time, 1988 or thereabouts, and revived in 2364, that television as a medium died around 2040. Now that was a bold prediction for the writers to make in 1988 because that is when television was at its apex and everyone was watching television all the time and the quality of TV shows was very good. Now television viewership has gone down a lot because there are so many other competing things to do. YouTube, social media, video games, and so forth. Sports viewership has been declining all over the world because people see it as redundant and they are seeing political ideologies that they don't want to see everywhere being pushed through sports. Take all that into combination and that prediction of 2040 was very bold and very accurate. And that was an impressive piece of futurism right there. Now we proceed on to this next property, a Deep Space Nine episode, Past Tense, which aired in 1995, and that, like many episodes, features the regular characters set in 2371 going back in time to a point nearer in the future from the viewer's perspective and taking action in what is the past for the characters but the future for the viewers to restore the timeline. And interestingly, the Deep Space Nine crew goes to 2024, San Francisco. And look what they find in 2024 San Francisco as estimated from 1995.
I know one thing. We're definitely in San Francisco. I caught a glimpse of the Golden Gate Bridge a few blocks back.
I saw it too. This is not the Earth we're used to, Doctor. That's still at least a century away.
What is this place?
Sanctuary District. By the early 2020s, there was a place like this in every major city in the United States.
Why are these people in here? Are they criminals?
Just people. Without jobs or places to live.
So they get put in here?
Welcome to the 21st century, Doctor.
That was also an impressive bit of futurism from a 1995 perspective. This was at the very early stages of even the first dot-com boom. The Bay Area was not that expensive, technology was not a huge sector of the economy, and Silicon Valley was not nearly as much of a concentration of wealth as it is today. But they estimated that inequality would rise so much and that San Francisco in particular would be a particularly bad example of this because of certain trends that seem to already be underway in 1995. The problems that San Francisco of today faces are well known, and it's a very interesting case study about what I call the immune system of human civilization. People who don't quite get the nuance of the situation compare San Francisco to Detroit, but it is nothing like that at all. Detroit is a place where the existing industry faced a lot of international competition and jobs went away, and since there were fewer jobs, that area economically declined and became poorer. San Francisco is quite the opposite. It was one of the wealthiest places imaginable and still is because of the tech boom, and San Francisco has among the highest concentrations of billionaires that you will find anywhere. Yet the basic city governance is falling apart, and many problems that were fixed in 1924 are now re-emerging in 2024. Basic functionality of city services is going backwards. Why? Because too many of the private sector taxpayers were making so much money that they just weren't paying attention to what was being done with their taxes, and a lot of the decision makers in city government were very ideologically extreme, yet not talented in the basic mechanics of government, and focused on the wrong things, and therefore basic city functionality that they assumed would never go backwards began to fall apart because these people had no concept of maintenance, and that is why you hear all these horror stories about San Francisco today, despite having among the greatest concentrations of wealth ever. The per capita GDP of San Francisco today is easily over $150,000 a year. There is no shortage of money. This is, in fact, a situation caused by a surplus of money and too much apathy by taxpayers, and nobody keeping an eye on whether too many extremists who are not qualified to be city officials are getting into power or not. But for the Star Trek franchise to predict this rather well so many years in advance, back in 1995, is certainly very impressive. Now we go to the third property, which I consider the flagship entry in the entire Star Trek franchise. Star Trek VIII, First Contact, a feature film in 1996. And this too also features two different time frames. The character's normal time is 2373. They have to go back in time to 2063 to prevent the enemy, the Borg, from altering the timeline and making humanity easier to conquer.
Sensors show chronometric particles emanating from the sphere.
They're creating a temporal vortex.
Time travel.
Data, report.
We appear to be caught in a temporal wake.
Captain, Earth.
Life signs?
Population approximately 9 billion. All Borg.
How?
They must have done it in the past. They went back and assimilated Earth, changed history. They were firing at the surface. Location?
It's like a missile complex in central Montana.
Missile complex. The date. Data, I need to know the exact date.
April 4th, 2063.
April 4th. The day before first contact.
That's what they came here to do. Stop first contact.
Now, this is one of the greatest science fiction films of all time, even independent of the Star Trek franchise. But what is interesting to me is how they chose this date of 2063. Now, the question of extraterrestrial intelligence is something I have explored in a lot of other videos on this channel, and longtime viewers are aware that I am of a view that we may not have that many intelligent civilizations in our galaxy for reasons I have elaborated upon. It is too early to say that with any certainty, but within a decade or two, we will get to a point where we have scoured enough of the galaxy through our search, enough exoplanets, enough space telescopes looking in enough directions that if we don't find evidence of intelligent extraterrestrial life, we have to consider the infrequency side of the debate as gaining weight. And computational power is progressing exponentially, as we know, and by 2063 we are almost certain to detect evidence of intelligent life if it exists within at least our half of the galaxy. Remember, just because we cannot find something in 2023 says nothing about how much more we can search for in the future because of exponential telescopic capacity. The amount of search that will be done in the next 10 years is much, much more than was done in all of human civilization before now. And that exponential progress will continue. We already have discovered 5,500 exoplanets as confirmed discoveries, and within a decade that number will easily be 10 to 20 times more, and another decade after that will make it another 10 to 20 times more, and therefore by 2063, which happens to be around the same time as when I predict a technological singularity will occur, we will have considerable certainty that extraterrestrial life does not exist at anywhere near the density as portrayed in the Star Trek franchise, and first contact will certainly not happen in the manner that is depicted in this film, as good of a film as it was. We will detect evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence before we ever meet someone face to face, And I'm saying such extraterrestrial intelligence is very uncommon as well. And I've given a quantitative case for that in a number of videos on this channel. So there you have it. This was part 2 of this Star Trek Futurism scorecard and assessment. And if you like this type of content and found this video to be interesting, then I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much for watching. Technological singularity, Elon Musk, Tesla, inflation, Ray Kurzweil, Federal Reserve, inflation, hyperinflation, artificial intelligence, AI, Elon Musk, Tesla, Ray Kurzweil, technological singularity, universal basic income, technological disruption.